Hello, welcome to Exotic Gardening UK, Yorkshire Kris Weekly. And on this week's episode, we're in the arid garden and we're planting yuccas. So it's not the nicest of days to be doing this, it's quite overcast. We're heading into early July and the hot weather we've had throughout June seems to have left us behind for now. But anyway, what I want to do today is actually go through and plant some yuccas into the arid garden, which is the second half of my garden, which is mainly based on gravel. So we've got lots of big established plants, including this Yucca linearis here. We've got an older Yucca rostrata here, which has flowered last year. I've got my agaves behind me as well. And what I want to do is plant some new plants in this area. But when I say new plants, I'm not going to plant anything that I've actually had to pay for. These plants have been plants that I've propagated myself, or plants have just produced for me in the garden. So we're going to look at a few yuccas which I actually dug up as pups from these plants last summer, and then they've been potted up and now they have rooted and we can plant them where we want them in the garden. So this Yucca linearis, if you have a look down here, we can see it's got a little pup showing. So this happens from time to time where you get your big dome of foliage and then you'll get your smaller pups growing from the base. And this happens on quite a lot of yuccas, and on the rostrata it happens as well. And if we look down here, we have a bit of a battered specimen, but that's a rostrata pup that's grown and sort of been squashed by the agave as well. And here in this spot where we've got the agaves, we used to have another yucca that unfortunately died. The trunk rotted because it got too wet, but it produced several pups, and I dug them up like I said last year. I've got one here that's been potted up. I'll be careful when I pick this up because it is a spiky plant. So you can see here, wonderful dome foliage, quite a green one this. So it's actually very different in colour if you put it next to this lineafolia or linearis. It's a different colour, but it is still the same type of yucca. And this has rooted really, really well in this pot. And a second one, which is just behind me over there, is in a similar condition as well. I did take a pup similar to the one down here of the rostrata. It had lots of roots, and I put that into a pot just like these linearis, and unfortunately it died pretty quickly. I mean, over 2 or 3 weeks it started to go brown and it died over a month or so, and now I've just got an empty pot of soil because the plant completely died away. So this yucca really did not like being disturbed and having its roots disturbed, and the pup didn't survive. But the linearis, as you can see, looks really happy, and it's time to plant these out into this part of the garden. So I've decided to plant this yucca in this position. It gets full sun. That's south over there. It's sun from the early morning right to the end of the day. It's nice and open in this position, so it's fantastic for yuccas and arid plants that like light and sunshine all day long. And with this part of the garden and this style of planting, I want to show off the plants. I don't want everything crammed together, which is very easy to do. So my agaves behind me are pretty close together because they were crammed in a 2.4 by 2.4 meter bed originally before I opened up this area. So I don't want my yuccas crammed with other plants. I want them to breathe and have space around them to let air to get through, the light, and just to show off the plants the best. And this position here, there's no other plants immediately planted next to them, so there's plenty of space. You can see the gravel, you can see this area really well, so I think this is a really good spot. And just to talk about what I'm planting into, as you can see, you've got loads of gravel, this pea shingle here, and in various areas we've got different depths. So where I used to have paths in this area, I have filled up the gaps with gravel, took away all the wooden sleepers. And you can see that in my earlier videos when I showed how I made these gravel paths. And in some areas it's 30 centimetres deep, in others it's 15 centimetres deep. In some areas, like just around the Jabea palm, it's really a mixture of soil and gravel with just a gravel coating. So we've got various different amounts of gravel, and the whole point is having really, really good drainage for these types of plants, really for the winter, because in winter they don't want to be sat in water or wet soil at all. It can cause the roots to rot away very, very easily, especially in things like the cacti. So this yucca is quite forgiving. You can grow it in just general soil, provided it's got really good drainage. I'm going to plant it here where it's basically, like I said, in this spot, I think on the edge between 20-30 centimetre of gravel, just touching the end of the Jabea bed where we've got a mixture of soil and gravel. So anyway, let's take this out of its pot. Like I said, it was exactly a year ago I put it in this pot. Roots of yuccas are pretty fragile. They're normally pink in colour. So let's see what this looks like. And actually, if we just take a look here, we've got roots coming out at the bottom. So I know it's rooted really, really well. So if we do a quick swipe to the right, it should hopefully come off really quickly, the pot. There we go. And as you can see, lots of beautiful roots all the way around. Not just got root growth on one side, we've got it all the way around. Nice, fresh, creamy roots, and a bit of older, redder roots as well. I'm not going to break this up because, like I said, it's very fragile. And this was potted up in a loamy soil, sand and gravel, so really free draining. And I'm just going to basically dig a hole here. And when I say dig a hole, it's more of a scraping the hole away, because the gravel just obviously start falling in on itself because there's no real soil in this area. So I'll get my spade, I'll dig my hole, and I'll plant the yucca. So there we have it, Yucca linearis planted. It's a green form of linearis. Quite a nice wide open space, and I will water this well today because it's been dry for ages. I want the roots to settle in to the gravel soil mix here, and then it probably won't need watering again all summer. Probably due some rain this week as well. We've had no rain at all apart from a big storm a couple of weeks ago, so the ground is pretty dry. But with it being a drought tolerant plant, this won't need any water once it's established in the ground. And this isn't the only yucca I'm planting in this garden, in this part of the garden. Like I said, we've got another big Yucca linearis as well. And we've got smaller cacti and yuccas and agaves that I want to plant throughout this area. And if you want to see what this garden looks like at the height of summer when it's all been planted out, then join me in a few weeks' time where I'll do a full walkthrough of this planted up area. Thank you for watching this edition of Exotic Gardening UK. Join me next time, we'll be doing more in the garden.